Hey guys, hope you're having a good weekend so far. I guess you're either watching this on Friday or Saturday, and I wanted to talk about uh, a blessing, a really big blessing that the Lord has given us as a local church. I hadn't thought about how big of a blessing this really is until this week, to be quite honest. This was really helpful for my soul. And it also brought a weight of responsibility to not only me, but to all of us as a church. And I wanted to just put it before you, kind of in the way that it came to me. So what I did earlier this week is I thought I need to go over our parenting approach as a church, kind of the objective we've had from the beginning of the church. We really haven't swayed from our basic theology and methodology for child rearing and how the church is related to that. So I pull out our membership list and I start counting how many children do we have in the church among our members. And I counted 66 children. That's not counting a few that are on the way, a few ladies that are pregnant right now. So we're going to have 70 children very soon in this church. And what that is a massive blessing. Children are a heritage from the Lord, the fruit of the womb, a reward, the psalmist says. And so we have been greatly blessed, a church our size, to have 70 children in the next few months. And I think the unique aspect to this, it's really unique, is that out of those 66 currently, we have 39 of them that are 5 and under. 39 children that are 5 and under. Now, that's an amazing thing. That's a blessing as well. That's where the challenge comes in regarding corporate worship services. So I guess in some ways I'm going to try to address the elephant in the room, or the children that are in the room during corporate worship, and just kind of try to give us some sort of vision for how to do this, because the reality is, whether we want to admit it or not, you can't have a corporate worship service in a small little room in a building that's rented at that, with 39 children 5 and under. You just can't do it. They will outnumber us. They will power us. I can't yell loud enough to get my voice over all of them. Even last week, we had 1/4. We had maybe 10 kids there that were that age, and it was quite difficult to preach and for people to focus. If we were to put 39 children in that room, we wouldn't have a sermon anymore, and much of our service would just be extremely difficult. And so we need a plan. And let me just say this. And please hear me, church. And I think you will on this, because there's no way I'm singling anyone out when I say this, because there's 39 children we're talking about. I'm not so if you think, oh, he's talking to me, no, I'm not talking to you. Well, I am, but I'm also talking to everybody else with children 5 and under. Okay, so this is a lot of people in our church, and this is a challenge for everyone. There isn't one family that is somehow excluded from this because they're doing so amazing. A child under 5 and under in the service is a challenge for anyone, and so we need to think through our approach to how we're training them. So I've talked to a lot of pastors on this over the years, and even more recently, and there essentially is 2 ways that pastors deal with this particular, we'll call it a problem. It's not a problem, it's a blessing, but it's something we got to figure out. So there's two ways. Some pastors say, okay, and I've talked to pastors in the city who have said, well, we have a 15 or 20 minute sermon because we have a lot of children that are that age, and therefore I just don't preach long. I just preach 15-minute homily. Um, that may work for them. That's not going to work for us. Uh, our understanding of the corporate gathering and of the local church in general is that the preached word drives the local church, that the local church is dependent upon our humbling ourselves under the proclaimed word week after week. And to give ourselves 15 minutes of that would really be detrimental to the spiritual health of everyone. So I don't see that as a solution. The other way that churches deal with this, and obviously this would be ones typically that have facilities and have many facilities and many nursery workers, they'll just mandate that anybody with children that age take them to the nursery. So when you walk in the front door, they're pointing you straight to that nursery, and they're making you put your children in there. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't think we need to go there. And so here's our vision from the beginning of this church is to have to come alongside parents, equipping them and encouraging them to train up their children in the ways of the Lord. And to do that in city groups and in corporate gatherings. So we want the children there as soon as possible so that they can know how to love the Lord and worship the Lord with the gathered church. It is tragic when I just think it's tragic when you would go to, as it works in many churches, you just drop your kids off at the nursery as soon as you walk in the building, and as soon as you're about to leave the building, you pick them back up. And they go in that nursery class, and then the next year they move to that nursery class, and the next year they move to that nursery class. And they never really experience the church. They just go from nursery to nursery or Sunday school to Sunday school, and they never really experience the regenerate body of Christ that loves the Lord. They're just with other kids playing games and doing crafts and things. And it's just not our vision. We want your children. I want my children to be in the church service, worshiping with us, and in city groups worshiping with us. And we've seen great fruit from that in the older children who have had that for many years. And so we want that. We have catechism, obviously, as well to supplement parents' teaching at the home. But we do believe it is the parents' primary job and responsibility to raise up their children, and the church comes alongside them and then primarily serves the children in the corporate gatherings. Again, we do have a catechism class. Lord willing, when we get a building, we will have other youth focused teaching for the youth and middle school, high school age, and more catechism type classes for the younger ones. We believe in that, but not to take them out of the corporate gathering or take them out of city groups. These will be extra supplemental teaching if the parents want to avail themselves of those things. So here's what I want to get at. How do we fulfill our current vision that I just laid out with the unique circumstances that we're in, where we don't own a building, where we just have a cry room, and we have COVID right now, where from what I keep hearing in Kent from many of the parents, don't want to put their kids in the nursery, which I understand, and the virus that was just going around. So we get that. But this is our current situation. We have COVID, we had the virus, which I don't know how much that's still prevalent or not. And then we don't own a building. And so we're jumping around from building to building, and some of the children aren't used to these new rooms they're being asked to stay in. And so we have all of the children coming into the service, and we actually haven't been the situation hasn't manifested itself yet. What will happen in the coming days? I'm trying to be proactive to help us think about this first, because the reality is we've only had about 10% of the children in that age demographic in the services in the last year. And before COVID, we had the nursery, we were having 20 kids or so back there every week. And then the parents that kept their children in the service, we were in the gym, they were able to kind of stay in the back or step out into the foyer. And at this point, if we had everybody show up at the same time, we'd be in trouble. So I'm trying to be proactive. So here's the plan. Kent and I have talked through, and what we want to lay before us. A few things. Number one, it's a hybrid plan. So there's a few options for parents. We aren't all have to do the exact same thing. Option one, when you show up at the building, this week it'll be Calvary, next week Pine Summit. When you show up at the building, you can go straight to the nursery, check your children in, sign them in, and you can drop them off right when you get there. You can pick them up after the service. If they're from that walking age up to through 4 years old. Once they're 5, they need to be in the service with us. You can drop them off at the beginning, pick them up at the end. That is an option. Or you can keep them in the service through the singing and through the other liturgical parts of the service up to the sermon. We're going to take a longer time to pray before the sermon, and we're going to give parents a chance to step out and take your kids to the nursery at that point. And there's a reason for that. Not only does that allow the children to be in the service at the parts of the service they could actually benefit from, they can sing when they're 3. They can listen to the scriptures being read. They can interact with the church at those beginning parts of the service. But once a 3-year-old can't understand anything that's going on in the sermon, really. 2-year-olds, 1-year-olds, that they're not. And it's interesting. I actually have a verse to back this. Nehemiah. And it's funny, the pastor that helped us plant ours, he preached a sermon one time. I always joke about this because when I first heard it, I was kind of taken back. But he had a sermon that was called "Put Your Kids in the Nursery," and I thought, man, that sounds kind of harsh. What does he mean by that? But he actually talked about Nehemiah. That in Nehemiah it says, all the children came to the water gate. It says the ones who are able to understand. Meaning those who weren't able to understand did not have a responsibility to sit under the word of God in that corporate gathering. And so this pastor, he built that out and said, you get no spiritual points for having your 1-year-old or 2-year-old or 3-year-old or 4-year-old in the service if they're not able to understand. Now, you're welcome to have them there, but they're not benefiting, and what they're probably doing is hindering you from listening and paying attention, and they're probably distracting others around you. And this is one point that I realize this as a parent and having young children, that we get quickly desensitized to the noises, right? There's a lot of noises that happen in a home with little kids, and after time you just don't hear them anymore. And then you come to a service and your child is sitting there and they're making those little noises and you're listening and you're not hearing that. But guess who's hearing it? All the people around you. And so there needs to be a level of self-awareness there and understanding of I may not be hearing this may not be distracting me, but it's probably distracting others around you. Be mindful of that. We're going to have the back. Let me say one more thing about that. So you've got option 1, put them in the nursery the whole time. Number 2, go sign in the nursery when you get there, then go sit down, be in the service till that halfway point of the service. Then you can go take them back to the nursery, come back and be in the service fully focused, and then pick them up afterwards. The third option would be keep them there the whole time, but be mindful of those around you, and so that you can pull them out, go in the foyer, or do anything you need to if noises begin to be disruptive. And so my phone is showing me the battery's going out. You can pull them out if they begin to be disruptive. And the other thing, and so if you go into the foyer, we want to get a TV back there so you can watch the live stream, but we at least have the audio of that. And it may just be a season where you just have to listen to the sermon later. I know many of you are doing that, and the season won't last forever, and that's where some are at right now. We'll also additionally try to have those back 2 rows blocked off for parents who are training little ones. So show up early enough to get a seat in the back few rows there, and then those of you who don't, or those of you who are not training young children, please sit up toward the front. And that will make it easier for everybody. We just, guys, we don't want to lose the preached word. And we don't have to. Thankfully, we can take this blessing of all these children the Lord has given our little church, and we can raise them in the ways of the Lord, and we can have all the means of grace God has given us in the local church, and have our children a part of that. But we've got to think through this. And have some unity here. Let me 1 or 2 additional things. If you really want to get your children in the service as soon as possible, you are going to have to train them outside of corporate gatherings. It's almost wrong to make your child sit there for an hour and 45 minutes. We have a long service. If you aren't having them sit for any amount of time outside of that service, think about that. Your child has the ability to just kind of run and do whatever all week long, and then you say, now sit here for an hour 45 minutes, and if you don't, I'm going to give you a spank and you're going to be in trouble later. That's not even right. If you expect your child to sit there still and silent and pay attention and honor the sanctity of that moment, you've got to have some family worship gatherings where you're helping them learn that. Outside of the Sunday morning or the city group gathering. And so this is where parents, you've got to be intentional about this. Additionally, I've been very encouraged lately hearing how some of the younger parents in the church, older parents in the church as well, are reading parenting books, good ones. And if you want resources, please see me. Please, I know a lot of you could recommend good books that you found helpful regarding parenting, just to get the overall holistic approach that we're aiming for. So, guys, I want this to land on us with great hope. I really do. I'm hopeful. I am hopeful. I'm not discouraged by this. I'm not upset about this. I see this as an awesome privilege that God has given us, but it will require patience and grace and humility to receive help, to receive exhortations, and to surrender some of your freedoms in order for the good of the body. It will require love for your children, and love for the glory of God, and love for your local church. I'm hopeful because I have seen us do this. This is in line with what we've always done. We just want to be a little more mindful, a little more focused in this season, so that we can steward our children well and our corporate gatherings well. Blessings, guys. If you all have questions or concerns, please seek me or Kent out as we begin to deal with some of these issues. Love you guys. Blessings. Have a good weekend. Bye.